Hello, welcome back to Marta from Sparta. We continue Made with Love series, and today we're turning a vintage blanket into this super popular annnnnd jacket. It's gorgeous. Obviously, it has to have flowers on it. Rose printed vintage blanket, only one of the kind, I think. So I think, as you know from my previous video, the biggest challenge is to lay out the pattern so we can actually feature the best parts of this blanket. But also we have only one blanket, so it's enough for us to make this jacket. So I already cut out my pattern and I am all set. I'm gonna lay the blanket on the floor and I'm gonna try to do the same thing as I did with my coat and try to figure it out the best way to feature this gorgeous roses, but also to have enough for the whole jacket. And I also prepared 3 different yarns, which I think going to be best for this blanket and match it. But this is, oh, I forgot to mention that this is no sew. So hopefully I'm not gonna need my sewing machine based on the pattern and based on the instructions, but we will see how this blanket will react once I'm gonna start to cut it. So let's lay the blanket and let's get the pattern going and we will see. Okay, we cut out all the pieces. We still have tons of blanket left. Maybe not tons, but we have a lot of blanket left. Definitely I have some room for error, potentially, just for the small pieces. So I'm gonna explain you my train of thoughts. I'm just gonna go dry my hair and have some oatmeal. I am so hungry. So my thinking gonna be more clear, and I'm gonna go through my train of thoughts with you in the next clip and what I was thinking when I was cutting those pieces, and maybe that's gonna help you to make a executive decision when you're gonna be doing the same project. Okay, now when I had my breakfast and dry my hair, I feel way better. Let's talk about my strategy. So as you see on the picture, I'm gonna attach it next to me so we have visual. This is very busy blanket with a lot of roses on it. And I think that having a sleeves and front and the back in roses, it would be a little bit too much for me. So I decided to make both sides with the roses, but I lift the pattern high enough so it gives me like a one kind of plain stripe over here, so it's not going to be like way too busy. And I'm gonna have a nice balance because I am planning to attach my collar also in a plain color. So I'm trying to balance this out. I did exactly same thing with the back piece when I left like this tiny area over here. So basically I don't want to have everything rose covered, but because it's a gorgeous vintage blanket, I want to try to feature everything from original blanket, which again, I want to show a little bit that the blanket has like a nice border, which was plain, and the middle section was just roses, which again, I'm gonna balance it with having plain color. I also decided to do plain sleeves, so it's not going to be too much roses and roses and roses, and it's not going to be way too busy. I would really love to incorporate the border of the blanket somehow, and how I plan to feature this part of the border. So I have two ideas. Number one, the pocket which comes in the pattern has a flap, and this border is way thicker than the flap which is coming with a pattern, but I don't really care. I think I'm gonna use this satin border as a flap for my pocket. This way I'm gonna be able to keep all original parts of the blanket, and I'm gonna be kind of able to feature the whole blanket and the pattern in the blanket in this one coat by using satin flaps. So I'm gonna have every single piece of the blanket on my jacket, and I have new idea also for the bottoms. Alrighty, since we know exactly what we're doing as far as the lineup go, and I will guys explain everything in more detail at the end of the video during my sewing thoughts, we're gonna have to start to put the blanket together. And blanket coat, I told you that I had 3 different color of yarn which I selected for this blanket, but I think since it's so much pink in it, I'm gonna go with green, so it's gonna be kind of like a stems slash kind of leaves for the flowers. And I chose like a very toned down green to it. I don't want any neon colors. I think it's very earthy vibe of this coat, so I'm gonna keep this kind of mood for the coat. And I was between now this one and that one. First step would be to attach the shoulders. So it has to really overlap really nicely and very evenly, and I am finding it very difficult to just do like a very even lineup on the both sides. So what I decided to do to make life easier for myself, I measured 1/2 inch on this side, which I'm gonna overlap on. I measured, yep, 1/2 inch, and I'm using the sewing marker. This marker is dissolving with in water, and I'm gonna draw like a very gentle line just to give myself like a kind of guideline where to align it, my shoulders. And I'm gonna go literally like 1 millimeter over, so we're not gonna be even able to see the line which I draw, but that's very helpful, at least for me, to be able to line them up evenly. And we will pin it just like that, so it's gonna stay in place. And that's going to be first stitches which we're going to start to do. And I'm gonna do blanket stitches, but there is like a few different kind of blanket stitches, and I'm kind of on the fence which one I want to do. Do I want to go with the traditional one or the other like kind of triangle looking blanket stitch, which I don't know how to do it yet. But I also learned a trick. If you want your stitches to be perfectly even and you have a hard time with it, you just basically put a piece of tape right over here on top. One tape on top, and you measure it out spaces in between, and that's where you're gonna actually punch it, and that's how actually gonna make your stitches to look perfectly even. You just follow this guideline, and I'm doing 1/2 inch spacing, but guys, you can do whatever spacing you want to do. You don't have to follow my measurements and my design. It's just to show you and just to give you idea and make your life easier if you are planning to do same project, right? And I'm gonna do exactly same thing on the other side, just like that. And I'm just gonna fold it under, and that's gonna help me actually to keep very beautiful and neat, same, very even stitching. Now I just have to, since I decided which yarn I'm using, now I have to kind of decide which type of stitch I want to do. I might watch one more video about this triangle stitch and test it on some piece and see how fast and how complicated this is, and see, because I really would like to do that one, but I'm kind of concerned that it's going to be hours and hours of doing that, first of all, and second of all, since I don't have any practice with this type of stitch, I might just mess it up, and this is vintage blanket. I don't want to really mess it up. So I'm gonna sit and think about it. I'm gonna practice the other stitch, and I will see you in the next clip. We have today like a minus something degrees, but every source of information give us different info. But just also like to mention that I really value and I really love recycling and repurposing. So I am really happy how this came out, and I have tons and tons of this left. So I have another project going, and another project which I want to show you. So I'm gonna also try to save original tag, potentially on the other side of the flap, so we can also like, you know, flip it and see the original tag, how vintage this jacket is. And the next deciding factor will be also if I want big pockets, like these are also pockets which coming from top, right? And see, like inspiration for this jacket, the rose jacket with a chevron kind of stitching, came from the blazer which I have on me right now. I really love the finish. I really love how everything looks like. So that's what the inspiration came from, and I might steal the idea of doing a double cuff like over here, because I think still it's missing a lot of green. It's very bright and it's a lot of pink in it, which I absolutely don't mind, but I think I want to bring more details in it to make it more I want to get it more busy with the green to tone it down the brightness of this jacket. So I am actively working on it, and once I'm gonna finish my lapels and the color, then I'm gonna decide how to cut the pockets, the shape of the pockets, and then the buttons, right? The buttons and details are super important, and I brought some fun buttons from my trip to Poland this year, so I might use actually them if the color is right, if the size is right, because everything matters, right? If not, I'm gonna again look for some vintage buttons which gonna go nicely with the jacket. Or if you remember my vintage coat from few months ago, I have some leftovers of these green roses, so I might add the roses. I'm kind of thinking that I want to do not a shiny buttons, but maybe something like plain green or plain pink, but something on the bigger side, because I don't think the wood will go with it, but we will see. Once the jacket will be finished, it's gonna talk to me again and I can make a decision. But again, the stitching from this jacket which I had was my inspiration for it, and the chevron blanket stitching, it's not really that hard. It's just twice more work than the, you know, regular blanket stitching. but I also think it adds more character to the jacket itself. So I'm gonna keep working on it. It's a day 3 of working on this jacket, and just sewing jacket, it's not really that much on cutting the jacket. The stitching is this time consuming part for this blanket jacket, but guys, it's totally worth it. So I will put you on the time lapse so you can see me working, and I will see you when all stitching are done. Okay, so I decided to go with, I think it's called chevron blanket stitch. So in a mid-time, I stitched my both sleeves, and I also stitched shoulders. So I think the next step, which I want to do, and it's my favorite way to do, it's to stitch my shoulders and my sleeves when the blanket is still open, and then as you know me, I like to stitch it as a one stitch the sleeve with the side of the jacket. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna show you how did I stitch the sleeves. So you see, like, the sleeve is stitched, and I want them to meet. I started in the middle because I want them to be perfectly even going. So what's gonna happen now, I overwrap the roses over my sleeve because I'm gonna go with my chevron stitch this way. So this part gonna be on that side, not the other way around. But you know, you can do whatever you want to. That's what I think aesthetically will look good for me in my head. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first stitch both sleeves into the shoulders, just like that, and I pin them both, and then I'm gonna fold it half and stitch the sides. And I still have to see how I'm gonna attach the collar and how I want to finish, if I want to finish it with a collar together, or I want to finish this first and then stitch the collar. I don't know. Her video is not really very detail instructed, so she just gave you a basic idea how to do it, because I think it's for some more experienced sewers, it's common sense. So I would just going with what I know so far and what I learned, and that's what my general plan is. I love it a lot. I love the choice of color, and I'm actually happy that I went with green, not with pink or the nude. I think nude color wouldn't be that visible and wouldn't make that big impact on the finish. And I think the finish with this chevron choice of blanket stitch, it's just perfect. I am really excited to finish the whole thing. And as I mentioned in previous clips, I have very fun idea for the buttons, which not gonna require making a buttonholes. So I'm gonna go back to stitching, and I will see you in a few hours. Okay guys, so blanket is finally ready. Blanket jacket is finally ready. And then next part, I'm gonna be deciding which part of the blanket I want to actually use for my pockets. Because we already know that pocket flap will be the blanket border from original blanket. So I'm gonna lay the blanket down and I'm gonna decide which part I want to, because I really want the pockets. I decided, and I want this top pockets which are coming with the original design. And then the next very big decision will be to choose the buttons. And I was collecting buttons. I always did collect buttons, like a vintage button, one button here, one button there, and then I have like a tons of them. So now the decision is which buttons we actually will choose for this beautiful blanket. And voila, jacket is ready. I couldn't be happier. There are a few thoughts about it. First of all, pattern is one size fits all, and I'm gonna show you it right over here. Mannequin is my form is extra small, and I am also, depends from the brand, I am between extra small and small. So I understand the idea of wearing oversized kind of clothing, but I think that if you are like me, extra small of small, this is like a little bit too oversized for you. I would start probably with a person who is size small, medium, and up. So the concept of heavy pattern, one size fits all, I don't think it's working in this particular so jacket. It will be way too big, I think, for you. I don't think it's gonna shrink. Maybe I should try it to shrink only if I want to keep it, but I think it's too beautiful, it's gorgeous, and first time I have to say that I don't have anything to say about any mistakes or errors. I just have to iron the pockets because they are really a little wrinkled, and it's just worked perfectly. First time I can say about myself, there is no errors. Jacket, I am very proud of it, and first time I'm gonna be very happy to put it on sale, and I'm gonna link it in the description below if you're interested to buy it. I think it's a perfect spring jacket. This blanket, it's not too heavy, and it's not too thick, so it's perfect spring cover. And the last but not least, I wanted to say big thank you to ANND for delivering pączki, Polish donuts, during this project. It made definitely my job easier and sweeter and even more fun. Thank you so much. And I also I hope that you guys enjoyed this project. I hope that inspired you, and I highly encourage you to try something like that. And I get a lot of comments about people having grandma's or grandpa's old blankets which are sitting in a closet, and they don't
have
purpose.
expensive taste like
if you have
and you want to keep your bank
blanket
account
which
as well,
is which
this
means
is the right
something
place
to you,
for you.
make a jacket.
Thank you for
and
watching.
make your grandpa
I will
or
see you
grandma
next week.
be your hug. Thank you so
everything.
much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this project as much as I did, and I did inspired you, and you have somewhere like an old blanket which you can turn into some awesome fun spring accessories. It's kind of this type of blanket, it's kind of feel like a very thin light jacket. And we're gonna do more upscaling. We're gonna relove a lot of things this month, because February will be a month of of reloving and loving, and we're gonna turn old things to new. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.